In the soft glow of the View's studio lights, there was a quiet sense of anticipation. The audience murmured, the producers adjusted camera angles, and the co-hosts reviewed their notes one last time. Today's guest was a Hollywood legend, Harrison Ford. Known for his sharp wit and low tolerance for nonsense, Ford had agreed to appear to promote his latest film. But no one expected what would unfold once the cameras started rolling. As the theme music faded and the applause settled, Joy Behar leaned forward with her signature grin. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only, Harrison Ford." The crowd erupted. Ford walked in wearing a navy blazer and that familiar half-smile, the kind that said he'd rather be flying one of his planes than sitting under studio lights. He shook a few hands, nodded to the audience, and sat down between Joy and Whoopi. "Good morning, Harrison," Joy began, her tone playful. "You've been saving the galaxy, cracking whips, flying planes, what's left for you to do?" Ford gave a small chuckle. "At this point, maybe just take a nap," he said dryly, earning laughter from the crowd. The opening was easy, friendly. They chatted about his film, about the grueling stunts, and about how he keeps his energy up at 82. But then, as always with live television, the tone began to shift. Joy flipped her cue card and grinned mischievously. "So Harrison," she said, "you've had a few, let's call them, grumpy, moments with the press over the years. Do you think maybe you're just not a fan of interviews?" Ford raised an eyebrow. "You could say that." Joy smirked. "Well, you're doing pretty well so far, though we've still got time to ruin it." The audience laughed. Ford didn't. "Let's hope you don't try," he replied evenly. Whoopi laughed nervously, trying to keep things light. But Joy pressed on. "Come on, Harrison, you've been called everything from Hollywood's grumpiest legend to the man who hates questions. You gotta admit, it's kind of true, right?" Ford leaned forward slightly, his tone cool. "Joy, I've been around a long time. I've done hundreds of interviews. What I don't like are loaded questions. There's a difference between curiosity and provocation." The audience went quiet for a moment. Joy chuckled awkwardly. "Oh come on, I'm not provoking you. It's called having fun." "Maybe your definition of fun is different from mine," Ford replied. Whoopi interjected quickly. All right, let's talk about the movie." But Joy wasn't done. "Before we move on," she said, still smiling but clearly poking, "you've also been pretty outspoken politically in the past. Do you think celebrities, especially actors, should get involved in politics?" Ford sighed softly, adjusting his posture. "I think everyone has the right to an opinion. But not everyone has to shout it from a stage." Joy tilted her head. "So you're saying actors should stay quiet?" "I'm saying maybe we should let the work speak for itself," Ford answered. "People don't tune in to hear lectures." There were scattered claps from the audience. Joy raised an eyebrow, clearly not expecting that response. "Interesting. Because you've had your fair share of comments about environmental issues and government policies. So, isn't that the same thing?" Ford's expression tightened. "That's different. I care about the planet, that's not politics, that's survival." Joy smirked. "Some people would say that's still political." Harrison leaned back, his tone suddenly edged with steel. "And some people say too many things without understanding them." The tension was thick enough to slice. Whoopi looked toward the camera and tried to laugh it off, but Joy wasn't backing down. "Oh, come on, Harrison, lighten up. We're just having a conversation." Ford's eyes met hers, calm but piercing. "No, you're having an argument. There's a difference." The audience murmured. The energy shifted. Everyone could feel it. Joy crossed her arms playfully, though her smile had stiffened. "You know, I've been doing this a long time too. We ask the tough questions, that's our job. And my job, Ford said, is to decide when enough's enough. A sharp silence filled the air. Ford glanced toward Whoopi, then toward the floor manager. I came here to talk about the film, not to debate my personality or my politics. If that's what this is, then I think we're done. The studio froze. Joy blinked. Wait, you're leaving? Ford unclipped his microphone. I think that's best. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whoopi stood halfway up, trying to calm things down. Harrison, hang on. But he was already on his feet. I've said what I needed to say. You all can carry on. He gave a polite nod to the audience, ignored the producers waving from behind the cameras, and strode off stage. The cameras caught a final shot of Joy sitting stunned, her smile faltering as the live audience erupted in whispers. Whoopi, ever the professional, turned to the camera. We'll be right back after this break. The screen cut to commercials, but the damage was done. Backstage, chaos. Producers rushed to Harrison's team, trying to calm the situation. Ford's rep shook his head. He's done. You knew not to bait him. Meanwhile, Joy stood off to the side, fanning herself with a cue card. He's too sensitive, she muttered. You can't take a joke in this business. By the time the show returned live, Ford was gone. The hosts awkwardly joked about Harrison needing some air, but viewers weren't buying it. Within minutes, clips of the confrontation flooded social media. Hashtag Harrison Ford walks off and hashtag the View drama trended globally. Twitter was ablaze. Half of the internet called Joy Behar disrespectful. The other half said Ford overreacted. Entertainment sites pounced within the hour. Headlines screamed, Harrison Ford storms off The View. Hollywood legend clashes with Joy Behar on live TV. Ford leaves studio after heated exchange. Even late-night hosts couldn't resist weighing in. Memes spread of Harrison walking out of interviews with captions like, when the meeting could have been an email. But not everyone mocked. Many fans admired him for standing his ground. That's why we love Ford, one tweet read. He doesn't fake it for cameras. Another said, he's old school, doesn't play media games. By the next morning, the full clip had been replayed millions of times. Analysts debated whether Joy crossed a line. She's known for pushing, one PR expert said, but with someone like Harrison Ford, that's a risk. He doesn't do performance confrontation. Meanwhile, Ford's team issued a calm statement. Mr. Ford appreciates the opportunity to speak about his work but prefers not to engage in political or personal debate. Joy, on her show the next day, offered a half-hearted clarification. You know, I love Harrison, maybe I went too far. Or maybe he did. Who knows, she said with a laugh. That's live TV, baby. The audience laughed, but the internet didn't forget. The clip remained one of The View's most watched moments of the year. A week later, Ford appeared at a film premiere. Reporters, of course, couldn't resist asking. Harrison, any comment on what happened with Joy Behar? He gave that same tight-lipped grin. Nope, he said, before walking away. It was the perfect ending, classic Ford. Behind the scenes, network executives knew they'd struck ratings gold. The segment pulled in record numbers. But not all press is good press, and The View's PR team quietly scrambled to manage the backlash. Fans online were divided, but one thing was clear, the raw, unfiltered moment reminded everyone of why Harrison Ford remained one of Hollywood's last true mavericks. He didn't play nice for applause. He didn't bend for headlines. And that moment, the sharp, unflinching glare he gave Joy before walking off, became iconic. Weeks later, the clip resurfaced in compilations titled Celebrities Who Refuse to Be Disrespected on Live TV. For Ford, it was just another day, another example of why he's never quite fit into Hollywood's modern mold. For Joy, it was a reminder that not every guest enjoys the heat of the View's spotlight.